In today's video, we are going to be learning how to solve different types of equations. And two equations we're going to learn how to solve today are called one-step equations and two-step equations. So the first thing we're going to start off is with one-step equations. And what an equation it's a mathematical sentence that contains a variable and an equal sign. So for example, let me write on this here. We have x plus 3 equals 7. That's an example of an equation. It has a variable, a letter that represents a number, and it has an equal sign. Now, each equation has two sides. And what I usually do is I draw a line down the equal sign to see both sides of the equation. And in order to solve an equation for a variable, what you have to do is the inverse operation. Okay, so the inverse operation of adding 3 would be subtracting 3 from both sides. So when we do that, we actually balance out the equation on the left, and we balance this out on the right. Whatever you have to do to the left side of the equation, you have to do to the right in order to balance it out. So we have x plus 3 equals 7, and we subtract 3 from both sides, and we get x equals 7 minus 3, which is 4. And on this side, these cancel out. And to check your answer, you would plug it back in. 4 plus 3, that does equal 7. Another one-step equation, in this case, we have subtraction. So the inverse operation of subtraction would be adding 4 to both sides. Okay, and then we get x equals 14. And we plug it back in to double check. 14 minus 4 is 10. Okay, let's do another. Let's do 5x equals 20. Whenever there is a coefficient, so in the case when there's a coefficient in front of the variable and there's nothing in between, we assume that's going to be multiplication. 5x means 5 times x. So the opposite of multiplying would be dividing. So we have x equals 20 divided by 5, which is 4. And again, 5 times 4 is 20. And the last type we might see is if we have something like this. And in this case, in order to balance it, we have to multiply x over 3. Fraction bar means it's divided. So the opposite of dividing is multiplying both sides by 3. And these would cancel out. And you get x equals 6. All right, so those are all the different types of one step. Oh, no, I was mistaken. There is one more type you could see, and that's with a lovely fraction. Let's do that. Let's look at 2/3 x equals 4. Okay, so this is being multiplied by a fraction. So to isolate the variable, to get the variable on the other side, what we have to do is multiply both sides by the multiplicative inverse. And the multiplicative inverse is a fancy way of saying reciprocal. Okay, so to get the variable by itself, we would have to multiply both sides by the flipped fraction, which is 3 over 2. 3 over 2. That way these cancel here, and you get x. Now, if you don't know how to do this, you could do in the calculator, you do 4 times 3 divided by 2 all in one step. If you're using the Desmos calculator, which I'm going to show you, you would do 4, click on 4, and then I use parentheses. What was the thing again? 3 divided by 2. So we have times, inside the parentheses, 3 divided by 2. And then we end the parentheses, and you get 6. But also, if you just did 4 times 3, which is 12, divided by 2, you would get 6 also. So 4 times 3 is 12, divided by 2, which is 6. All right. So those are all the different types of one-step equations. Now let's take a look at a couple two-step equations. So with two-step equations, you're going to have to solve them in 2 separate steps. One equation I'm going to write down. It's going to be 5n minus 10 equals 20. Again, line down the equal sign. Always doesn't have to be x either, okay? So what I'm going to do is add 10 to both sides, because I want to get rid of any addition or subtraction first. So that's the goal of any two-step equation, to get rid of any addition or subtraction first. So add 10 to both sides, and you get 5n is 30. And now it becomes a one-step equation like we saw before, and we just divide both sides by 5, and you get n is 6. And then I can double check when I plug it all the way back in up here. 5 times 6 is 30, minus 10, which is 20. All right, let's look at another. Let's look at 33 equals 6 minus 3m. We'll do a different letter here. Now, again, the m, the letters doesn't all have to be on the left side. This could be also on the right side. Now, we've got to be careful with this one, because we have 6 minus 3m. This is the same thing as adding 6 over here. Another way to write this would be negative 3m plus 6. Okay, that's another way. This is another way to write this. So in order to get this 6 over here, we have to subtract 6 from both sides. And you get 27 equals. Now be careful when you bring this down, you have to bring the negative 3m. So now when I have a negative, what I have to do is multiply or divide both sides. Since I'm multiplying here, divide both sides by negative 3, and my answer is negative 9. And again, you could check that and use a calculator to check that answer. All right. All right, let's throw one in with a fraction. 2/3 x plus 4 equals negative 6. Line down the equal sign. Again, I want to get rid of any addition or subtraction first. So I minus 4 from both sides, and I get 2/3 x equals negative 10. Again, to get rid of the fraction, you multiply both sides by the multiplicative inverse. Oops, I'm going to do it over here. So the multiplicative inverse, the reciprocal, is 3 over 2. 3 over 2. And if you don't know how to do that all in your head, negative 10 times 3, which is 30, divided by 2, which is negative 15. But again, I'll show you in the calculator. So we have negative 10 times 3 over 2 So clear all, -10 parentheses 3 divided by 2, and you get -15. All right, let's look at one more with a fraction, a tougher one. All right, we'll do 6 minus 3/4 x equals 12. Okay, again, want to get rid of any addition or subtraction first. This is the same thing as adding 6. So this is a positive 6. So in order to get rid of the positive 6, we got to subtract 6 from both sides. So then we get -3/4 x. Don't forget the negative, right? This negative doesn't go away. Equals +6. To get rid of the fraction, we multiply both sides by the reciprocal, which is negative. Don't forget that negative. So we have x equals 6 times -4, which is -24, divided by 3, which is -8. But again, I'll show you in the calculator. Clear 6, -4, divided by 3. Again, it's -8. Okay. So there's a couple problems on how to do one-step and two-step equations. Again, you're using the inverse operations to solve these. And whenever you have a fraction, you multiply both sides by the reciprocal or the multiplicative inverse. Okay. Oh, forgot to write my answer here. It's -8. Bam. Okay. All right. So that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. And remember, whether you're solving for X or Y, always give math a try.